So now we're going to talk about how to find out how much added sugar is in the foods that we eat or drink. To do that, we're going to talk about the nutrition facts label. Now I'm betting you've seen a nutrition facts label. The nutrition facts label can be found on any food that contains more than one ingredient. It tells us what nutrients are in each food, as well as the serving size and the calories. So let's talk about serving size. What is serving size? Well, that's one of the first things we want to look for. It's usually at the top of the nutrition facts label. Serving size reflects the portion most people consume of that product, not the amount they should consume. It is simply a measurement tool, something to keep in mind. But as you notice on the nutrition facts label, at the very top, the first thing it tells you is the serving size. Oftentimes the serving size may not represent the entire container or the package. If this is the case, take note of how many servings make up the entire container or package. Another thing to look at when we're looking at the nutrition facts label and the nutrition information is the ingredients list. Now the ingredients list is separate from the actual nutrition facts label, and it usually is down below. And it'll list all of the ingredients that are found in the product. Now an interesting thing is that the ingredients will be listed by the ingredients that make up the most of the product all the way down to the least amount. So the first thing you see in the ingredients list is going to be what's mostly in that product. Many ingredients that we see in processed food and beverages are words we can't even pronounce. As a good rule of thumb, if you can't read it or pronounce it, it's probably not a good idea to eat or drink it. It's also wise to avoid products that contain a lot of added sugar, since this can impact our health. So speaking of sugar, how do we know how much extra or added sugar or how much sugar in general is in the product? Well, by looking at the nutrition label, it's going to give you two options. You can first look at total sugars. Now total sugars includes the naturally occurring sugar, things like fructose or lactose are naturally occurring sugars, as well as the added sugars such as high fructose corn syrup. It's giving you a total of the sugar in that product. Now one thing we'll talk about later is our body doesn't know the difference between added sugar or natural sugar, so it's gonna treat it the same way. Added sugars are things that are added on top of naturally occurring sugar to enhance the flavor. So it's going to list the grams of added sugar within a product that are listed on the nutrition facts label, and all forms of sugar listed within the ingredients list are considered added sugar. So two things to look for on that nutrition facts label: how much total sugar is in it, and then how much added sugar. And as we mentioned before, we're really wanting to watch out for how much added sugar is in a product. So do you have any guesses on what products that kids consume contain the highest amount of added sugar? Well, desserts and sweets are obvious ones, but breakfast cereals are another big one. Think about some of your favorite breakfast cereals and the ones that are really tailored and marketed towards kids. They have bright colored boxes and they usually have cartoon characters on them. And most of those cereals have a lot of added sugar. Yogurt is another big source of added sugar. Now once again, just plain unflavored yogurt does have some naturally occurring sugar called lactose, but a lot of the yogurts that they make add a lot of extra flavoring, and that adds a lot of added sugar. And the last one is beverages. It's very, very easy to drink a lot of added sugar because a lot of beverages have a lot of added sugar, and we talked about that earlier. So it's really important to watch how much added sugar is in the things that we drink as well. Now when we're looking at that nutrition facts label or that ingredients list, it's important to keep in mind that sugar has a lot of names. Now once again, don't forget that our body doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know the difference between the names. When it gets sugar, it's going to treat it the same way regardless of what its name is, because it all acts the same in our body. But when we're looking at ingredients lists and looking for sugar that is in the product, some of them are going to be pretty obvious. You'll see things like brown sugar, cane sugar, or raw sugar. I mean, you know those things are sugar. But then you'll start to see some little bit more complicated names. Things like corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, maltose, dextrose, dextrin. All of these things are different forms of sugar. Now one little trick is anything that ends in the ending ose is a name for a sugar. So like we mentioned, there are some naturally occurring sugars like fructose and lactose. We also have things like glucose, dextrose, maltose. These are all just different names of different kinds of sugars. So we're going to dig deeper into some nutrition facts label with our next activity, which is called Nutrition Detective. Before you get started on that activity, you're going to need to download or print off the Sugar Shock handout, which looks like this. Once you have that, you're going to either work in groups with your teacher or you can follow along at home. But let's get that Sugar Shock handout ready to go, and I'll see you for our activity.